Have you ever eaten something and immediately spiraled? It wasn't really about the food, it was what you were saying to yourself about it after that really put you in the spiral. So emotional eating isn't always triggered by the food you're eating. It's triggered by the thoughts you're thinking about what you're eating. Because when you judge what you ate, this makes you feel shame, and that triggers how you feel about yourself. So today we're going to dive into how the way you're thinking about food could be triggering your emotional eating. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. So let's say you eat something and you're on a diet. It doesn't fall into your diet plan. And so you have the food and immediately you think, oh my God, I shouldn't have had that. I've had too many. You start spiraling. This spiral makes you feel shame, like, oh my God, I screwed up again. I have no discipline. I'll never get this right. And so this is just playing into that shame spiral. And that shame is coming from your nervous system being activated and feeling dysregulated, feeling uncomfortable. And so your body says, oh, we need to get back to calm. We need to regulate. Cue emotional eating, because that's how you get back to calm, how you soothe yourself. And so your emotional eating is playing into your diet mentality because you're judging yourself for the foods that you chose. So it's not to say that we don't need to eat in order to nourish ourselves and to feel good. But when we are really attached to diets, when we're really trying to control food because we feel so out of control with food, we put a lot of judgment on ourselves to be perfect. And this is playing into a deeper wound we have about not being acceptable, of not feeling good enough. When we are using diets to control ourselves, we usually have a really rigid way of thinking about ourselves. We need to be really disciplined. We need to be really perfect. You have this mindset of, I have to eat perfectly. I have to be disciplined. I have to look a certain way to be accepted. I should be better by now. I should know better. So all of these judgments you have about yourself, they're coming from a deeper place. But essentially when you say this to yourself, you're triggering internal criticism and shame. This makes your body dysregulated. And again, you're going to go to food to soothe if you're an emotional eater. Because food is releasing this pressure you're putting on yourself, this criticism you're putting on yourself. But then what happens? You emotionally eat, you feel more shame, and then you're in the downward spiral. And this is where you need to start looking at your behavior with food to shift your emotional eating. This is where you need to start getting back to a true nourishment. And this is something I help clients when they're in my program, the Emotional Eating Evolution program, because they are usually dieters. They have all of these food rules in their head that are how they think they should be, but it doesn't directly connect with their body's needs. And so it doesn't mean that when you move away from a diet or way of thinking about food that you're going to just be doing whatever you want, eating whatever you want. It's how do you connect back to your body to know what really nourishes it? And there are some guidelines to it. When I'm working with clients, I give them a structure to flow from to see how food feels in their body. What is their energy like after a meal? How do they digest the food? Do they feel satisfied with meals? These are basic concepts that we weren't taught because we're trying to control food and we're not using food for what it's meant for, to nourish us, to help us feel good, to give us energy, to give us a vibrancy. We're not using in this way when we're strictly following these external rules. And so when we are detached from our body, we are using the diets to control food in order to not feel shame. And that shame is coming from us not feeling good enough because we feel out of control with food. But we have to get to the deeper root. And so why are we trying to control food? Why are we trying to be perfect? Why are we trying to control ourselves? Because we think something's wrong with us. And this would have come from somewhere in childhood where you didn't feel good enough and you thought, if only I looked a certain way, if only I ate a certain way, then I would feel better. But it's not hitting the nail on the head. So when you are following a diet, you might restrict calories, restrict macros, and that plays against your biology. Your brain needs calories. It needs certain foods. It's going to turn on food noise. And you're in a battle with your body and what you think you should be doing. And so that creates shame. if we're able to sink into our body, to hear the messages of our body, we're going to detach from the diet mentality. It doesn't mean there aren't patterns around nourishment and food and nutrition that you can put into your life to help you feel more satisfied with food, but it's not as rigid. It feels more at ease. You feel more at ease with food, while also working with a deeper level of why you feel so much shame when you're not perfect with a diet. So when I'm working with clients, we're working with their emotional eating at these two levels. Because if you stick to a rigid diet mentality and can only have certain foods, and you screw up or your body wants something, you judge yourself and you will be spiraled into emotional eating. And so that emotional eating is caused by the way you're thinking about yourself. It's not really about the food. And so we have to go into the deeper layers of that. But as we do the deeper work on your emotional eating, we are creating a healthier way to be with food. So true nourishment has certain tenets. When I'm working with clients, they are eating to satisfy true hunger. So meals taste good. They give them enough energy. They are nutrient dense, and they're filling physically, because there are certain things that we need to honor our hunger. They are also eating in a way that digest well in their system. They are having regular meals. They're listening to their hunger cues. They're not on this roller coaster. They feel calmer with meals. After meals, they feel satisfied. They have more even energy. They're waking up not feeling groggy. They're waking up feeling energized because they're eating in a way to support their body. And there's no morality attached. What I like to teach to clients is that there are going to be foods that are health giving to you that make you feel really good, and there are foods that are going to be health depleting. It's not to say you can't have those foods, but you're making a conscious decision about the foods you're including in your life. You can be sovereign around food. So if you know having cake impacts your digestion, or you feel really low and crappy after, you can choose not to have it. Or if you say, it tastes really good and delicious and I just want to have it, and I know I'm not going to feel good after, but I'm okay with it, and there's no extra shame attached to it, then that's another choice you can make too. But you're sovereign in the decision you're making about food. You're not shaming yourself to be perfect. And so when we incorporate these tenets of true nourishment, there is less urgency around food. You don't have to eat all the cookies or eat all the things, because it's always available to you. You have more clarity, and it lessens some of that food noise. Not completely, because there are other layers to this pattern. And so this additional food noise is usually driven by restricting ourselves when we are guilting ourselves. We think we should be in a certain place. We should weigh a certain amount of weight. This pressure to be perfect or to perform. When we start nourishing our body, this lessens some of that food noise and we feel more stable. And then we can go deeper into the emotional eating layer where there are deeper needs not being met. And so emotional eating has these layers. If you're judging the food on your plate, that can trigger shame and more emotional eating. And so we need to start shifting how we're looking at food, shifting it to true nourishment, so we feel more at ease, more at peace with food, and more comfortable in our body, so that we can look at those layers of shame and criticism that are triggering us to eat more. Emotional eating is not a straight line. It's not linear. It has different layers. And this is why inside of my program, the Emotional Eating Evolution program, I teach clients how to tap into true nourishment, body acceptance, and emotional wellness, because these are the key layers that are needed to help them resolve their emotional eating at the root. We need each of these pieces so that you can sustainably shift this pattern. You can get to ease and peace and confidence around food and in your body. And so it is not just about what's on your plate. It's about how you think about what's on your plate. It's how you think about your body. It's how you feel about your emotions. This is all part of what's going on under your emotional eating pattern. And so if you would like deeper support on this, I would love to invite you to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution program. This is my 12-week container with the step-by-step process, weekly office hours, one-to-one sessions with me to get to the deeper root of your emotional eating, to start creating that relationship to food that feels more easeful and to your body, and to start resolving this pattern. And if you'd like to find out more about the program, you can find out more below. And as a first step, I always recommend to clients and anyone starting this journey to start learning to discern true from emotional hunger and catching your triggers. I have a free guide called What Are You Truly Hungry For? You can grab it below to get started. If you have any questions about what I've shared today, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.